He stood on the corner pretending to check messages on a dead phone, the collar of his tailored coat turned up against the cold he barely felt. Adrian Blake, the man whose face filled magazine covers about unstoppable success, had come here only because his car had been blocked in by a delivery truck. He'd meant to take a different street, but fate, or whatever people called the invisible hand that rerouted lives, pushed him onto this sidewalk at the exact moment the woman appeared. She moved slowly, a thin figure wrapped in layers of mismatched clothes. She wasn't begging, wasn't holding a sign, wasn't looking at anyone. She carried a small plastic bag pressed to her chest like something fragile. Her eyes were tired but steady. Adrian watched her step to the curb, hesitate, and turn back toward a food stall where steam curled into the freezing air. He saw her fingers trembling as she reached into her pocket. She pulled out a crumpled $10 bill, small, worn, barely holding shape. She smoothed it once, gave a tiny exhale, and walked toward the vendor. Adrian felt something twist inside him. $10 to her was probably everything. He found himself following her, keeping a few steps behind. Not out of pity, not curiosity, something deeper, unsettled, like a voice whispering watch. She approached the man running the stall, a middle-aged vendor who looked as if he'd been up since dawn. She didn't order for herself. Instead, she leaned toward him and said something Adrian couldn't hear. The vendor paused, frowned, nodded, and took the $10 from her hand. She thanked him with a smile so warm it looked out of place against her cold cracked lips. A minute later the vendor called out, and she accepted a packed container, hot, heavy, wrapped carefully, and hurried away, not eating a single bite. Adrian followed again. She crossed the street, moved past the coffee shop that refused to serve people without proper appearance, and stepped into the alley beside it. There, in a corner hidden between dumpsters, sat a boy, no more than 8. He was curled in a thin blanket, coughing into his sleeve. When he looked up, his eyes lit as though she'd brought him the sun. "You should have eaten first," the boy whispered. "I already ate," she lied with practiced softness. "Here, it's still warm." She knelt, placed the food in his hands, and brushed his hair aside. Adrian felt the sting in her voice. Love mixed with desperation, a strength that shouldn't still exist in someone with so little. The boy dug into the food, eating fast but trying to slow down because she watched him with a tenderness that broke something inside Adrian. When the boy coughed again, she touched his forehead. "Still warm," she murmured. "I'll find medicine today, I promise." "With what money?" the boy asked through a weak smile. She didn't answer. Instead, she hugged him. That hug carried more love than all the expensive charity galas Adrian had funded in his life. He stepped forward before he realized he'd moved. "Excuse me," he said. The woman turned sharply, shielding the boy. Her eyes flashed caution, then exhaustion, then quiet defiance. "Please," she said quickly. "We're not bothering anyone. We'll leave if—" "No," Adrian cut in. "I just saw what you did." She stiffened. "We don't beg. I know. We don't need pity. I'm not offering pity." She studied him. His coat, his watch, the small accidental signs of wealth that leaked from his appearance even when he tried to look ordinary. "What do you want?" she asked. "Your name." She hesitated. "Maria." "And his?" "Eli." Adrian crouched slightly so he wasn't towering over them. "May I help?" "No." The answer came fast. "People help for a day. We need more than a day. We need life too. Stop crushing us, and you can't fix that." Her honesty hit like cold wind. Adrian had fixed everything in his own life with money, every problem, every responsibility, every uncomfortable emotion. He had no idea how to respond to someone who didn't want what he could easily give. "Let me at least buy you both a meal," he said. "You saw what I did with the last $10 I had," she replied calmly. "If I take your money, it goes to him first too." "That's not your problem. That's mine." Eli tugged her sleeve. "It's okay, Mom." The word mom froze Adrian. "You're his mother?" he asked softly. She nodded once. "But why are you houseless?" she corrected. "Not homeless. Home is wherever he is." Adrian swallowed the lump rising in his throat. "What happened?" he asked gently. She stiffened again, but something in his voice must have sounded sincere because her shoulders eased a little. "I worked at a grocery store," she said. The building sold. They cut staff. Then Eli got sick. Missing work made me lose the job. Missing rent got us evicted. Everything else after that was just. She lifted a hand vaguely. A cascade. Adrian felt the weight of her words. He'd never known cascades, only ladders. You don't have anyone who can help? He asked. Her eyes dropped. My parents died years ago. His father didn't want to be one. Adrian nodded slowly. Eli coughed again, and the sound sliced through the air. What does he have? Adrian asked. A respiratory infection, she answered. It keeps getting worse. I'm trying to get him into a clinic. They have a waiting list. Waiting list, Adrian whispered, horrified. For charity care, yes. Adrian stood up, pulled out his phone, and started dialing. Who are you calling? She asked sharply. Someone who can help. No, don't. It's just, no. Her voice cracked. We don't need saving. I've had enough people promise to fix everything and disappear. I can't let Eli get his hopes up again. Her words hit harder than any accusation. Adrian lowered the phone. Eli's small voice broke the silence. Mom, he looks like he means it. Her eyes softened, but she still shook her head. People mean things until it becomes inconvenient. Adrian felt the truth of that cut through him. He had been that kind of person, generous until generosity required effort, empathy, time. I won't disappear, he said quietly. Why? She whispered. Why would a man like you care? Adrian hesitated, then exhaled. Because $10 isn't much. But you used it on someone else when you needed it more. I've never seen anyone do that. Not when they were starving. Not when they were cold. You gave the last piece of your world to your son without even thinking. He paused, voice unsteady. And I've never given anything without thinking first. Her expression shifted. Surprise, then doubt, then something like fragile trust trying to bloom. What are you offering? She asked cautiously. A place to stay, he said. Tonight. And tomorrow. A clinic for Eli. No waiting list. No conditions. She stared, stunned. Hotels don't take people like us, she murmured. Mine does, he said. Yours. He blinked. He hadn't meant to say that. But it was true. He owned a small chain of boutique hotels. He could put her in the best room and no one would question him. Yes, he said simply. Maria looked torn. Fear of being hurt battling the hope she had tried to bury. And after tomorrow? She asked. We can't depend on you forever. You won't need to. He took a breath. If you want, I can help you get work. A safe place. Daycare for Eli while he recovers. I can set you up to stand on your own feet. She covered her mouth with her hands, shaking. Eli watched her with worried eyes. I don't know what to say, she whispered. You don't have to say anything, he replied. She nodded slowly, finally allowing herself to accept. Adrian felt something in him shift, a warmth he didn't recognize filling a space he hadn't known was empty. The ride to the hotel was quiet. Maria clutched Eli, and Eli leaned into her, lulled by the car's warmth. Adrian watched them from the front seat, listening to the gentle rhythm of Eli's breathing. Every small cough made Maria flinch. At the hotel, the staff rushed to help, but Adrian waved them away, wanting no attention. He escorted Maria and Eli to a suite overlooking the city. This is too much, she whispered. It's temporary, he said. Comfort is allowed. When Eli curled up on the giant bed, Maria brushed his hair back, tears in her eyes. Thank you, she whispered. Adrian left them to rest and stepped into the hallway, leaning against the wall. He felt something unusual, an ache. Not discomfort, not guilt, something like purpose. The next morning came with urgency. Adrian had already arranged a private specialist to examine Eli. When Maria held Eli's hand as they entered the clinic, she looked terrified but hopeful. Hours passed in tests, scans, and waiting. When the doctor finally returned, his face was serious but not despairing. He'll be okay, the doctor said. He needs treatment, but it's very manageable. And he needs rest and stable living conditions. Maria broke down. Her sobs were raw, the kind born from months of fear and helplessness. Eli clung to her, confused but relieved. Adrian stepped outside the room, giving them space. When he finally returned, Maria looked drained but calmer. There's something you should know, she said softly. Adrian sat across from her. You helped us without knowing the truth, she said. But you deserve to hear it. The $10. Her voice trembled. It wasn't mine. Adrian frowned. What do you mean? I found it, she said. On the sidewalk. I picked it up because I thought maybe fate finally smiled at us. Maybe I could buy Eli soup. But when I touched it, she swallowed. I felt guilty. Someone else might have needed it. But he needed food more. So I used it for him. But I still feel like it wasn't really mine to spend. Adrian stared at her. That's what you think I need to know? He asked. She nodded. He shook his head. Maria, that $10 was yours the second you picked it up. Not because you found it, but because you used it with a pure heart. And it's the reason I'm here. If that bill hadn't fallen into your hands, none of this would have happened. Maria wiped her eyes. Why does that matter to you? Because, he said quietly, I've made millions, but I've never made a difference. Not like you did with $10. Her breath caught. Adrian continued. You showed me what real generosity looks like. You changed more in 20 minutes than my charity events changed in 10 years. She didn't speak, but her tears said everything. Over the next weeks, Eli's health improved. Maria gained strength. Adrian found himself visiting daily, bringing small things, books for Eli, warm clothes, a box of pastries she used to love as a child but hadn't tasted in years. He arranged interviews for Maria. Her kindness and resilience impressed every manager who met her. Soon she found steady work at a community center, helping families who faced the same struggles she had endured. Eli enrolled in school, bright, curious, and finally healthy. One evening, standing in the lobby of the hotel, Maria approached Adrian with a hesitant smile. You didn't just give us help, she said. You gave us back our lives. Adrian shook his head. No, you had the strength already. I just moved a few obstacles. But why us? She asked. He paused, then answered honestly. Because the day I saw you spend your last $10 on your son, I realized I had everything except a reason to be proud of myself. Maria's eyes softened. You have one now. He smiled. Genuine, warm, unburdened. Maybe, he said, thanks to you. She reached out and squeezed his hand. And thanks to a $10 bill. Adrian laughed lightly. Funny how the smallest things change everything. Maria nodded. It wasn't the money. It was what we chose to do with it. Adrian looked at her, at Eli playing with toy cars on the lobby floor, at the life that had grown from one small act of love. Then maybe, he said quietly, we should keep choosing right. And for the first time in years, Adrian felt like he finally knew what right looked like.